Tonight on Absolute Bedlam podcast, I have no idea how I've managed to do this. Actually, I have a really good idea on how I managed to do this because I'll explain it in a minute. I've managed to get Stuart Ashen on the podcast. Stuart,
Hello.
you are my chef excellence.
Is that good or bad? That sounds bad.
No, that's good. It's just my drony voice. It's a very good thing. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate YouTube's best tat reviewer coming on to have a little chat with us.
That's best tat review. I don't know if that's a bit like being the sort of world's tallest midget or something. You know, I don't know what that means, but fair enough. Hello, and thank you for inviting me on, sir.
No problem. I might actually go into that now. That seems like a nice little, because otherwise it's going to transition badly. So I was in Ash Frith's Twitch stream the other day.
Oh yes, yeah.
Messaged Ash saying, not to derail this stream, but is there any chance that you could get hold of Ashen's for me? Because I'd love to have him on for an episode. And Stuart was in the chat. And he said, I'll email you right now. Right, I've emailed you. Figure out where the hell I got your email from. And here we are.
Did you figure out where I got the email from?
I didn't. Spill the beans.
Mr. Biffo.
Yes,
Mr. Biffo had already messaged me ages ago, and I was like, "Oh right," and I put it on the list, which is very long. But when I encountered you on Ash's stream, I moved it up the list.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're a legend.
No worries.
COVID, how has it been for you?
Oh, no,
and
no.
how has it affected your life?
It hasn't made that much difference to me. Mostly because I can do everything from home. I do all my editing and recording at home, and everything else I do in the office we rent in the city, and the other people in the office haven't been in, really. Except for Nostalgia Nerd, who only comes in very late at night, generally, so we don't cross over much physically. So
Very good. Very good.
yeah, it's not made a terrific amount of difference, other than the fact, you couldn't go on holiday, and sometimes you couldn't go to the shops and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I've been quite lucky on that front, really.
Yeah, definitely. So, how I came across your channel is quite a novel thing. So, I did an apprenticeship in an IT help desk about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I was watching one of my colleagues piss himself laughing on the lunch break. And I said, "What are you watching?" And he went, "Oh, I'm just on this YouTube thing. It's kind of like an early adoption sort of thing. I'm just having a look at the beta." Because YouTube used to be a dating site. Don't know if you knew that.
Did it?
Yep, used to be a dating site very, very early on. It was all about sending video recordings to each other and doing speed dating and stuff.
That's bizarre. I've never heard that.
Very strange, isn't it?
I remember the video of the man at the zoo. I thought that was the beginning of it. Cracky.
Yeah. So there he is, sat on the. Well, you're not sat on the brown sofa. You're kind of. I assume that you're like kneeling on the brown sofa, like
That is correct. Or in front of
everything.
it. Yeah, kneeling in front of it like the item of worship it is. Yeah.
And I think you were doing a toy review and deciding whether or not you were going to blowtorch it into hell. And
That
I
would
just
be a
thought,
blind bag. Yeah.
this is the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I need to watch every video ever. And it just went a bit mental. A lot of people that I talk about YouTube is people go on rabbit holes very frequently with you, from what I can tell. They tend to sort of get stuck in the recommended cycle of YouTube, and they just sort of they don't realize that time is a thing when they watch your videos, and then before they know it, they've watched like an hour of your content.
Yep. Then before they know it, they've died of old age. It's amazing.
That's it. So since then, I've been watching pretty much everything you've been doing with a lot of anticipation. Poundland sort of hauls that you do, and some advent calendar things that you do.
Oh yeah, that's coming up again.
You're absolutely smashing Twitch as well.
Yeah, it's going all right. I'm really enjoying Twitch because I look at it a bit more of a sort of hobby than a sort of work thing like YouTube. So I take more risks and can be weirder, basically.
Yeah, you're consistently on like 400 viewers. I watch it now and then. The chat window's just like insane. There's no way I'd ever be able to sort of make this happen on Twitch, I don't think. But yeah,
I don't know if 400 is good or not for Twitch, actually.
I'd say that's a pretty good concurrent viewership, personally.
Yeah, I've got no idea. Well, good. That sounds excellent in that case.
There we go. And I watched a video of you getting interviewed a while back, and I think you had a white shirt and a tie on. You kind of look like Simon Pegg, which I know you get a lot of.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And yeah, I watched you get interviewed, like I say, and you said that you'd earned enough money from YouTube to finally be able to afford a sandwich.
Yes.
And yeah, that just made me laugh.
That was a good sandwich.
There we go. So now, naturally, at the end of this, we're going to talk about your favourite meal deal from Tesco's. So it's all come full circle.
Ooh, difficult.
So we'll start off with fan questions. I've had a couple. So I've got my friend Andy Branch, who was going to be a co-host for this episode, but time just didn't quite work out. So here's a question.
Andy. Hello, Andy.
That's all right, no worries. After over 15 years of creating content for the internet, what has been your most memorable video and project for you?
Ooh, blimey. The ones that'll stick in my head are always going to be the feature films, because they take like a million times longer and a million times more effort than everything else, for obvious reasons. For the smaller internet stuff, it's often the things I do that take you a bit by surprise, where you don't know where a video's going when you start it. So things like the E.T. Furby thing review, where I ended up skinning it. I wasn't expecting to do that at the start. And also I had this horrible dancing Jar Jar Binks toy.
Oh yeah.
I was like, how do you really review this? So I just turned it on and then smashed it to pieces with hammers. And in its way, I enjoyed the purity of that. And also the smashing.
Smashing, that's what it's all about. Got another question from Katie. I might have mixed these up. I do apologise, people out there, if you are listening. Which I hope you are, because otherwise, what's the point? Have you bought this year's advent calendar yet? And do you have a hint for what it might be?
I have not bought them because Dad Nerd Cubed has bought them all this year. So, and I don't know what they are. All I know is he spent a bloody fortune on them. He's really gone all out to try and get actual good ones this year. But I don't know what they are as yet. I will know in a week or so when we get together and film them. But yeah. And apparently instead of a punishment calendar, there's going to be a treat calendar. But what that means, I don't know.
There we go. You had it here first. And one of my friends, Jim, last question. Are you self-managed or do you have an agent? And how do you manage your schedule, which I assume is pretty mental, day to day?
Really badly is how I manage that. It's too complicated, it drives me mad. I do nearly everything myself. I do have an agent, but he specialises in like brand deals and things like that, where I couldn't properly negotiate and that kind of stuff. He's a very nice man called Mike, and he is very useful. But the day-to-day stuff, I just sort out myself. 'Cause if A, I couldn't afford to pay somebody else to do it anyway, and B, I'd just be giving all the information to somebody else, and by the time you've done that, I may as well have bloody scheduled it, Perhaps I'm just used to doing everything myself since we started off with literally nothing on YouTube, and it's kind of slowly grown up. You're just used to doing everything. This does not count when we're doing feature films. That I could not do all that. There's teams of people for that kind of thing. But for the day-to-day YouTube, yes, it's just me pretty much.
Yeah. Speaking of the feature films, like, what was your initial sort of thought into doing that? Because I know a lot of people think about doing these things, but very few people actually mobilize on them. Sort of, how did you approach that? Because your first one was Quest for the Game Child, wasn't it?
That is correct, yeah.
Was it crowdfunded?
It was partially crowdfunded, mostly crowdfunded, actually, is a better way of putting it, yeah. We had to get some money indirectly from Google. That'll never happen again, bloody hell. They didn't know what we were spending it on, though. It was fine. That's kind of literally true to an extent, actually. But anyway, they knew it was going to a company. And they knew what the company was going to do with it, but they didn't know specifically we were doing that. Anyway, what happened was, many years ago, we did a brand deal for Dell computers. They had a new Alienware thing coming out, and they offered a lot of money to do this sort of sponsor thing. But one of the sort of provisos of the lot of money is you don't get to keep most of it. We want it to go on like big production value, and we're like, this could happen. And I was with a company at the time who was the mic of the time, a company called Channel Flip, and they got in touch and said, look, we could do this, fits really well with your demographic, we could have a bit of fun, we could do like, we had this idea of like this 10-part, I think it was 10 parts, was it 8 parts? It was a number of parts, an integer between 8 and 10 probably, and yeah, we had this idea of this sort of short sci-fi series thing, but with the entire budget of 3 minutes of Doctor Who, and not 3 good minutes, but 3 minutes when they're standing in a corridor talking, and very little time to throw it together. And I was introduced to a man called Riyad Barmania, a Canadian gentleman who lives in London, and was going to write it basically and direct it and do the whole thing. Was like, oh, excellent. And we hit it off very quickly, and I very quickly realised Riyad is a man who gets shit done, because this is one of the industries where people talk a lot and do very, very little. And so when you find people who can actually do things, hang on to them. Unless they smell, then keep them at a distance. But, that's the kind of principle of it. So about a year after we did that, because it went very, very well, we won an award. I don't know where that is these days, big lump of Perspex or something. That went nicely, and about a year later I was at a party at Channel 5. They held this like summer party and chatting to Riyad, and I said, your crew you had put together for the thing, it was obvious they normally worked on films, and this was just something they were doing, between jobs, most of them. He's like, oh yeah, that's his background, feature films. And I'm like, well, why don't we make a film then? And he came up with a really good problem. We can't afford it. So I then said, well, why couldn't we crowdfund it and see if we can get something from this ongoing Google thing? He's like, and that was it. We just spoke to the company, and the company was like, yes, we like. So we went in and in a very short period of time, put everything together. Crowdfunded, got the money, and then we were filming it remarkably shortly afterwards. I mean, we had to write an entire script first, and since there's 2 of us doing it and there's a lot of back and forth, that takes a while. But that was still, for that kind of thing, a very quick process in the scheme of things. It was the script that took the longest. But then we produced it as quickly as we could and filmed it as quickly as we could, because time is quite literally money on a film set. And that was it. And it went well. So we did another one 7 years later.
Did you know that you were going to do a sequel if everything went well?
No idea. I think in the back of your mind you think, maybe if this goes well we could do another, but you'd never really expect it to. But it got all the views, and it sold quite a lot on DVD and Blu-ray, even though you could watch it for free on the internet at the time. We still haven't worked that one out. People do like their discs. I haven't got a disc. Imagine I've got a disc in my hand. There we are. And when we decided to work on the sequel, we spent a lot of time writing it. It was a few years before we got that together. We got private finance for it, which fell through at quite literally the 11th hour. I was on the train from Norwich to London, and it was still going ahead. But in the time it took me to get from Liverpool Street to Stratford? Was it Shepherd's Bush, actually? Shepherd's Bush. The finance had fallen through. That's what it's like, financing films, folks. People are full of shit, is the problem. But so we then crowdfunded again, got some other money from private stuffs, and made the sequel. And maybe one day we'll make a third. But at the moment, we're all too tired.
Love it. So, just got some random questions for you. So,
fire away, sir.
Gigs, music, remember them? Gigs.
Are they like little?
Close.
No, those are figs. I know. Yes, where they play music and you listen to it and you're in the same room. Yeah,
that's it. What's the best gig you've ever been to?
Ooh, I've not been to many gigs. I'm more of a sort of film and game man than a music man, but obviously I've been to some. I think probably my favourite one was a local battle of the bands. Is that a friend of mine had and still has a band which was playing in this battle of bands. A sort of heavy metal thing, which is not generally my genre. But we went along and listened to all, and I didn't have any idea what his band sounded like at that stage. And so it's like one of these things, I hope I don't have to be polite because it's a friend, but they were really, really good. Really sort of professional quality. It's like, this is great. Really good stuff. And then the rest of them weren't very good at all. And you got this sort of feeling from the whole audience that kind of... there's a few pockets, obviously, of the the people who have come with their friends for their bands who will always clap and cheer. But it's like, my God, my mate's band is like fucking a level above all the others. This is amazing.
Yeah.
They didn't win, of course, because that's battles of the bands.
Yeah, that
It's
is.
all politics, Joel. But it was still really nice. It was so nice to go along and not only support him, but just realise just how good it was. They actually provided a track for our second film, Polybius Heist. That's how good they were.
Right. Who are they?
They're a band called Monster City.
Monster City. I'll have a look on Spotify.
Yes, I think they're on Spotify.
Awesome. Obviously, with video games, your wheelhouse, you're in abundance of knowledge.
Well, baby Spectrum games from 1986 to 1989. But yeah.
You obviously sent Ash. Is it Cannon Fodder?
Oh, did that work? I haven't actually checked his VODs back.
Yeah, that worked. Yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
Bloody tremendous.
Yeah, he's getting there. He's good at the chat and playing the game, but you can tell that it's his first sort of dip into the pool, as it were, with Twitch. I don't even know how people do stuff like that, with the chat just constantly reeling and you trying to complete a game 100%. I just
It's all practice. It's all practice.
I'm out. Yeah, but you say you're enjoying Twitch?
Yeah, very
When did
much
you
so,
start?
actually, yeah. God, about over 3 years ago now. I used to occasionally live stream on YouTube, and then one day we tried to live stream on YouTube, and it just didn't work, because the live streaming system was down, but it didn't tell you. So it's like, shit, I think I made a Twitch account one day in order to secure the name. It's like, quickly, everybody go over to Twitch, and I'll try it through that. And the whole experience was so much better. Tiny fraction of the audience, because obviously on YouTube, like, the notification goes out to 1.5 million people, so you will get a lot more viewers, for my channel at least. But I stayed with Twitch just because the experience was so much better on all fronts. And to this day, YouTube is still playing catch up. Like, Twitch will do something, and then YouTube will implement something very similar 18 months down the line.
18 months video, yeah.
Bit embarrassing, really.
Yeah, I get you. Top 3 games.
Ooh, top 3 games ever. My favourite game is Bloodborne, PS4. So that's a nice, easy one. I always think of Mark Kermode when I say that, because whenever you ask what Mark Kermode's favourite film is, the film critic, he always says, it's The Exorcist. And that is his go-to answer, because it meant something to him at the time. It is a great film, etc., etc. So I feel like Bloodborne is my answer like that. That is my immediate go-to. But the other two, I'm not going to pick another From Software game. Really loved a game called Chaos Strikes Back on the Atari ST. Absolutely fantastic. I've put so much time into the digital version of Gloomhaven on Steam, I should probably mention that, but it's kind of still technically a board game. So,
Yeah.
I think I've played that more almost than any other video game now, probably by hours. Loved Renegade on the ZX Spectrum. I still go back to that occasionally for a laugh. Yeah, I'm going to say those. There we are.
I imagine you just have this room in your house full of consoles.
They're mostly in the attic. Well, actually, no, the consoles are in the office, and the old vintage computers are in the attic, which I had to buy because I wrote books on really terrible old video games, and you have to try them on the actual hardware just in case there's a reason they're terrible and it's like an emulation problem. It's never an emulation problem, is what I learned. The emulators are all just so precise for these old 8 and 16-bit machines.
Yeah.
But I tested them all anyway, and as a result, I bought so many old vintage computers, and thank God I did, because they've got like quadrupled or more in price since I bought them.
Oh, wow.
Things I bought for like £60 are now going for like 300 and stuff. It's absolutely insane. So that's my retirement fund.
Fair enough. Just quickly hopping back over to YouTube, with the open source software video that you did, what made you press publish? What was your desire from that video being uploaded? Because obviously that was your first video.
Yeah, first on Google Video, because I always back the winner. And of course, after I'd uploaded like 3 bloody videos, YouTube bought them. That was the end of that. Well, Google bought YouTube. Oh, go the wrong way around.
Yeah, that's it.
And the rest is history. I just wanted to make things, and I had a camcorder, really. And I think recently seen like an Adam and Joe thing, or probably not recently seen actually, but I remember the old Adam and Joe thing where they were messing about with action figures, and I just got a box of sort of, I think they were Cobra infantry figures, but like a later version of the old G.I. Joe figures. I thought I could do something with them, and I just knocked up this nonsense. I don't even know who I was trying to amuse with it, because it's such a weird niche joke. But there we are. I put it online and regretted it immediately.
That's it. Just want to quickly big you up as well, because I'm just on your channel here right now on my phone, not being antisocial. You have 517 million views on your channel.
It's not enough. I want 1 billion, because that's a cool name.
You want 1 billion, right?
Yeah.
Everyone go
take
on your
while.
browser.
Yeah, F5.
Refresh
F5,
it. Refresh it. That's it.
Work.
We know. No, it doesn't. Yeah. There we go. So, yeah, I've been watching you since, I want to say I was 17, and now I'm 32.
Good God. I have been doing it for, it was 15 years this year. So yeah, that is entirely feasible.
Do you still love it?
Yeah. I couldn't stop doing it now, I don't think. I'd have to keep it on in some way, shape or form. Yeah. In a way, it would be nice to knock it on the head just so I could get the space back in the garage. But, no. That's not a good enough reason.
This is a bit of a strange question for you, because obviously you've done films, but say top 2 or top 3 favourite films for yourself.
My Kermode answer there is RoboCop is my favourite film of all time. Okay. Just amazing dark satire. I think it's one of those things I saw as a kid, and obviously it was cool because it's got a big metal man and he shoot gun and boom, and I thought it was great when I was like 12, and then I went back and watched it years later thinking, oh god, this is going to be bad, isn't it? It's just going to be utter nonsense, so hopefully you can have a laugh at it. And then at which point you suddenly realise it's like a really dark satire and everything is layered on top of it, and my god, the whole thing doesn't let up from the start, and it's brilliantly paced, and all the characters are great, and Clarence Boddicker is such a good villain because he's just like your dad's arsehole mate or something, like he's like a real person set amongst all this crazy stuff. Love it. Still my favourite, and I still haven't seen RoboCop 3, but one day I will. I just can't bring myself to do it. Other favourite films, oh my god. For sheer enjoyment, it's probably going to be Ricky O, The Story of Ricky, which is an insane Hong Kong film based on a manga, which is ludicrously violent, makes no sense whatsoever, and is like an Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, but made about vaguely martial arts related stuff in a prison. And it's absolutely insane, but also immensely entertaining. I must have seen that 4 or 5 times relatively recently, like within the last few years, and I'm not somebody who'll rewatch the same film a lot, but if anybody wants to see it, I'm like, put it on, we will experience The Story of Ricky. As for picking a third, ooh, that's really difficult. You see, I'm torn between trash films that are pure enjoyment and then films that are just actually really good, there's so many. I can't pick between my babies. No.
And as soon as we stop recording, you'll go, fuck, why didn't I say that? Because that's how podcasts work, people.
Maybe.
I mentioned this earlier, music-wise, but do you have a top 3, top / top 5 musical albums?
Yes, I do. I'm not sure I could pick between them. This was interesting when I thought about this, actually, because I remember there was an album that I always have in my head I really love. Loved it when it came out. It's The Presidents of the United States of America, self-titled album, 1995. And then I realised I haven't listened to it in probably 20 years. So that doesn't really count anymore, does it? I don't know if I've just gone off it or what happened there. But yeah, if it's top 5, I would say Flood by They Might Be Giants, 1990. The Ghosts That Haunt Me by the Crash Test Dummies. I don't know the year, but probably just after Flood, 1990, 1991. Bang Goes the Knighthood by the Divine Comedy. That was about 10, 11 years ago, I think. 2009, 2010, something like that. Den Svenska Disco by Slagsmälsklubben. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Sorry to any Swedes listening. It'd be about 2000 and something, 2002 or something. Why didn't I look the bloody dates up? That would have been useful. And for a fifth, I don't know. In theory, I'd like to get some public service broadcasting in, but I don't think that would probably debut by. Oh God, I haven't said her name for years. Bjerg. That's how you pronounce it, isn't it?
Is it Bjork?
Bjerg, I think. If you're going to go fully Icelandic. There's a reissued version on it. They did because they released it like in the early 90s, then re-released it with an extra track. And the extra track's great, so I would say that as well. Maybe Life's Hard and Then You Die by It's Immaterial. God knows when that came out, mid-80s. That's it. That's all I've got in my head, I'm afraid.
I asked Mr. Biffo this, so in the gesture of fairness, I don't know if that's an expression, but it is now.
It is now, yeah.
What, if you went to a gym or you went jogging, what would your soundtrack be? Give you some more energy to do that last rep of the weight, or
my God, I can never imagine going to a gym or jogging. And probably, I don't bloody know. It would be some sort of playlist that I've put together on Spotify. Yeah. As simple as that, be like a load of 90s songs. I tend to group them by decade, so probably that. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. That will help me get sponsored by Spotify, so thank you very much.
Yay!
Cheers, Stu.
Spotify, it's great, unless you're an artist, because they pay you all if you're not with a major label.
That's it, we'll edit that out. It's great. Yep, fantastic. What other questions do I ask? I'm a bit flustered, I've got to be honest, Stu. This is a bit mental.
My God, imagine if you spoke to somebody really famous. You'd be a nightmare.
Childhood game memory. What's your first ever childhood game memory?
Ooh, my sister says I was obsessed with them from a young age and would like sort of hang off the bloody joysticks in sort of Pac-Man machines in clubs or whatever. Not as in nightclubs. I was far too young for that. I'm talking about 4 or 5. I mean, I remember playing Kung Fu Master in the arcade. Is that maybe the first? My God. Still like a bit of Kung Fu Master on occasion. Still no good at it. And I remember playing Commando on a friend's Spectrum and being blown away because I was expecting home computers at that stage. I was expecting to just be like the letter A, and that's the commando, and a hyphen comes out and shoots things, But no, it actually had graphics and noises, Almost like the arcade, but far more colour clashy. And I remember once, many years ago, going around to my sister's friends, and they were big into the Atari 2600. There's a lot of Atari 2600 games, playing The Empire Strikes Back, and nobody was allowed to play E.T. because it was rubbish, they said. And they were bloody right.
Yeah. Didn't have an Easter egg in it. I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember. Do you know, I don't know that much about E.T. on the 2600, other than the fact it's bloody awful.
It was talk of the town for a couple of years, wasn't it? And then it completely fell off a cliff.
It's one of those things they used to bandy it around as it's the worst game ever. And I could probably name you about 100 worse quite easily. You're just not familiar with the sort of 8-bit home computers, and to an extent the 16 bits, because it was the bloody Wild West on those things, and anybody in their mum's attic could knock out some dreadful game that would make your eyes bleed.
Any chance of an Ashen video game?
I wouldn't have thought so. There's an incredible amount of work needs to go into them, and game design not my thing. It would have to be something very simple and jokey, or a point-and-click adventure. That is the only probably thing I could do, but no plans for that whatsoever.
Yeah, fair enough. You've already made 2 films. I'll give you a bit of a break.
That'll be fine. I'll just construct a Zeppelin next or something.
Yeah, I bet. Bartians.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
That came about, I met Barry Lewis at a comic relief thing where they were getting some YouTubes in, and me and Barry were the only ones over the age of about 30, so we just ended up chatting to each other and hit it off. And I went to Western Supermare to his place, and we did a video, and we started to just do crossover videos every so often. And Barry said, wouldn't it be great if we did something more regularly, just something that isn't food related, because obviously Barry Lewis, the chef, is very food related on his channel. He's a chef, and that is his thing, So we came up with this idea for Bartians. We wanted to call it Bashens, Barry and Ashens, but we discovered that already existed. I can't remember what it was now. So we became Barshens, Barry and Arses or something. No, that was the other idea that was banned. So we came up with that. We got Paul Gannon in as a producer, who's somebody I knew from doing other bits and bobs. He brought on Eli Silverman, his good friend and co-host of Cheap Show.
Love that. Love Cheap Show.
Oh, excellent. It's good stuff, isn't it?
All about Cheap Show.
I'm trying to think with the other people, and we had a variety of different people filming it because we kind of always needed somebody behind the camera, and then eventually we got a proper sound recorder in through Paul, and he also found the actual, director of photography, so to speak, which is where Izzy and Chris came from. And then over time we brought on Riyadh, the co-writer and director of the films, just because he's a very useful person to have around technically, and it was always a laugh. And my nephew Ryan came on because he's very good at A, presenting, and B, coming up with formats. He came up with several of the sort of the best Martians formats. So, yeah, and that was our group whilst we could afford it and whilst we were allowed in the YouTube space in London.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Any chance of that coming back? Or is it
very unlikely because A, we can't bloody afford it, but B, I don't know where we'd film it now because there is no YouTube space anymore. I mean, we were... Oh, yes, it's totally closed off now. It kind of disappeared while we were still doing Bartians. You couldn't book it anymore. The only reason we got it is because Barry happened to have the email of somebody quite high up and would just keep hassling them until they gave us a slot. But they changed... the joys of it. But they changed the whole thing, basically. It used to be YouTubers, book a space and come in, and then it became... They were just hiring it out to companies. Basically. So you'd go in and the main studio was being used by some people filming Rowan Atkinson for green screen stuff or promoting the new Johnny English film and stuff like that. And you're like, this has changed. Yeah.
I could see some sort of digitizer / Stuart Ashen space in the future of just your own, like you say, sort of self-managed creative space that you rent out twice a week, and then Mr. Biffo uses it once a week, and then Cheap Show use it for their podcast, or I don't know. Obviously, I'm just throwing ideas out there.
The big problem with me and Barry as well is we're literally on other sides of the country, east and west, and so you pretty much got to meet in London. And a shed in London costs more than the entire world, so it's just a logistical pain in the arse.
Yeah, I get you. I have got some more questions here, but I cannot remember for the life of me where on earth they are on my phone. Bear with me.
Good.
What a good time to enter sponsor mode.
Ooh.
So, got 3 companies. Got Grind, wearing them on my shirt right now. I'm not even jogging, people, and I'm wearing them. What a haul, right? Made Sure, wax melts, snap bars. They go in your wax burners. Very, very good. Very, very affordable. And this is a cherry amaretto wax bar. This is a Halloween one.
What is a wax bar? What is going on? Have you made these people up, Ben?
No, this is my girlfriend's company. So, Pumpkin Brew, this one is. I'll show you live. So,
do you eat it? Do you smell it?
You're in YouTube mode.
I haven't got a bloody clue what this is.
Are we recording Can I Eat It? The Life of Stuart Ashen. It does look a bit chocolate bar-y, I will give you that.
Yes.
So, you break it, and you put it in your bowl. So you've got a dish bowl. You put your tea light underneath the bowl, and it melts.
Okay, and what?
The world is good.
What do you use the molten wax for?
It just smells nice.
Oh, I see. Okay,
yeah, it's just,
that's making more
wax.
sense. Gotcha.
Candle wax.
Right. I'm with you.
It's my first day. I'm not very good at whoring myself out. And we've got Archie Soul. My boys at Archie Soul, giving you all sorts of shower. This is a bar of soap, Stu. This is most mental bar of soap you'll ever see.
That's a house brick.
Life.
Come on.
This is my phone for comparison.
That's a murder weapon from Cluedo. Come on.
It is, yeah. That's the first thing they'll go for when there's a murder at the house. They're about £7. They're doing a sale on their site at the moment, www.archiesol.com. And this is deodorant, believe it or not. Look at it. Woo! That'll get clipped. there's no doubt in my mind that will get clipped. And they finally took my suggestion on, and they sell beard combs. So
Oh
get
my
involved.
god! It exists.
www.archiesoul.com, and they've even got this facial scrub.
Nice.
Go right. Enough of the
Marvellous.
corporate stuff.
I'm going to advertise Beanus. He likes beans.
Yeah.
There he is. Yeah.
Hell
Beanus
yeah.
for everyone.
I love Venus. What a legend. I love how much Paul hates him. That really adds to his, like... Yeah.
He's created a monster. People
has.
never go for the thing you want them to go for. That's bloody
That's it,
audiences for you.
That's it. So, what does the future look like for Stuart Ashen's?
God knows. I try not to think too far ahead. Maybe we'll do a third film. I don't know. YouTube stuff will be ongoing. I'm doing a Patreon video at the moment that I'm really excited by. I don't think anyone else is going to enjoy it. It's just nostalgia enough. The stuff that's quite specific to me. That'll go out there. That's all I can think of. Doing a podcast. Got a couple of podcast projects in the offing. One with the presenter Claire Lim, aka Wee Claire, where we're doing a podcast where we talk about old films and then decide what happened to the characters after the film. And it's all nonsense. We've had a lot of fun with that. That might be going up fairly soon, actually. I'm not sure what's happening there. I think that's about it. I've got my own podcast project on where I've finally convinced myself to watch through all the infamous Video Nasty films from the early 80s, which were banned at some point. Most of them are just really boring. Some of them genuinely quite nasty. I'm going to get going on that fairly soon. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. I've probably missed 5 things. I always do. That was it. We're writing a book about weird action figures as well. That's on the go.
Weird action. Is this weird action figures you've probably never heard of?
Kind of, but it's not going to be called that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because many of them people will be aware of, but will they? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's been very, very nice chatting to you, and I wish you all the best with everything that you do. And I will be eagerly watching from the sidelines. And I want, in the future, Ashen's to create his own brand of Rustler's burgers, and I want you to review them in a non-biased fashion.
Oh, God. I mean, if we could rebadge the Rustler's ones, that would be okay. You just wouldn't want to go for the cheaper.
Yeah.
There's some bad stuff going on at the moment.
Have you seen on YouTube, there's a real drive for, like, making your own companies and selling your own things at the moment. It's usually just clothes, but it seems to have evolved into this chaotic, like, David Dobrik's selling, what's he selling? Aftershave, perfume.
Okay.
Mr. Beast is obviously doing burgers, and he's made his own fast food chain. There seems to be this real sort of appetite at the moment for just solidifying yourself as much as possible beyond just clothes. Sidemen have just made their own vodka. One of my friends, Robbie Knox, has just made his own beer. It's all just a bit mental, really.
Very well. I should do something just really prosaic and dull.
Yeah.
I was going to say pickled onions. Ashen's brand. That literally happened, didn't it? The film critic, the British film critic did it. What was his name? Barry Norman had his own range of pickled onions. I believe they were called Pickelodian.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's actually a thing. I can't think of something even more prosaic than that you could... socks, no, because you can have designs on those and they'd be interesting. Whelks. Nobody likes Whelks particularly. That's quite a good one. Yeah. Buy these Whelks. Yeah.
Welkins.
And we'll send them to you in thin glass bottles which will smash en route. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Awesome. That's it, really. Is there anything you want to ask me, or is there anything you want to announce? The floor is yours.
Why, thank you. I want to know what room you're filming in.
So I'm recording in my son's bedroom.
Okay.
This is a very, very temporary setup because I'm new to this whole YouTube world. I've recorded a ton of audio-only podcasts that I recorded in my bedroom, mine and my girlfriend's bedroom. Hi, Hannah, if you're watching this. I highly doubt you are, but hi. It's a bit of a temporary setup, but when you start out, you've got to just use what you've got. I've just got a headset, a laptop, an
Absolutely.
internet connection, and a bottle of water.
Mainly, I just wanted to know if the item on your left is the back of a chair or some sort of cupboard. I can't tell from here.
Bed.
Ah! It was the third option, everyone. And now we know.
And this is the door. It's a very, very small
I
room.
had worked the door when I must admit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I am really looking forward to Digitizer Level 2.
Oh, that's a coming. Yeah. I don't know anything about it. With Biffo, you often don't until you turn up. So
Yeah. No, fair
it's
enough.
going to be interesting.
I've got a recording session booked with Ash Frith. Is it Frith or Firth? That's driving me
Frith.
fucking mad.
Frith.
It is
Yeah.
Frith.
Like froth, only different.
Froth. Ash Froth.
Yeah.
That's
Esh
a beer
Froth.
brand. That's a beer brand. Come on.
Frith's Froth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us. And
You are most welcome.
onwards and upwards, I suppose.
Lovely.
Thank you very much. And I'll
Take
speak
care.
to you all very soon. Cheers.
Bye-bye.